Sapling, mistletoe, and holly barrier. These are three rather forgettable plants in Plants vs Zombies 2 that come around every Christmas during the feastivus event in-game. Yet their nicheness and obscurity can often undermine how great these plants really are. Today we're going to be analysing these three festive plants through their history and functionality. I'll also be answering the question of whether you should buy these plants or not. So let's get started. Sapling is a stalling plant that acts like a catapult, launching pine cones that create sap tiles underneath the zombies. These sap puddles halve the movement speed of zombies who walk on them, but disappear after 7 seconds. Its plant food ability just launches a bunch of these pine cones, splattering puddles of sap across the lawn. One of the more unique features of this plant is that it does not deal damage to zombies in any way. Sapling was introduced with the Feastivus event of 2014. Now, I remember this plant was quite controversial when it came out. Players weren't impressed with the 150 sun cost for a plant that does 0 damage to zombies. Many of us thought this plant was severely underpowered. This controversy was only further fueled by the fact that the plant was a premium that costed real money. Needless to say, I don't think that many people were bothered buying this one at release. However, today's sapling is quite the opposite case. Since the 2017 Feastivus event, sapling now costs gems instead of money, making it far more available to players. Additionally, its sun cost has since been halved to 75 sun, which is one of, if not the most significant buffs a plant has ever received. The criticism sapling garnered back in the day is a thing of the past, with many players considering it a well-rounded or even great plant. Sapling's functional simplicity can often be mistaken for faults. The fact that the plant deals no damage to zombies may sound poor on paper, but in practice it only increases its stalling capabilities. Plants vs Zombies works in a way in which the next wave of zombies is triggered early if enough damage is dealt to the current wave's zombies. Hence, sapling not only slows down waves of zombies, it also prolongs the next wave from even starting. This can completely slow down the whole pace of the level, allowing you to control zombies much more efficiently. In such a fast-paced and sometimes unforgiving game, this 75 sun plant can really make your life a whole lot easier. If you have the gems, I would definitely pick up this plant when it's available. For what was originally such an underwhelming plant, sapling has done a full 360 and it's one of the more formidable staller options in the game. Oh yeah, and you can get a costume that puts a bauble on him, so that's kinda cute I guess. 2 years after the release of Sapling, PopCap released another Feastivus Special Edition plant, Mistletoe. This plant is a lot less original than Sapling and is definitely my least favourite of the three. Mistletoe is just a copy-paste of Banana Launcher, except her projectiles chill zombies in a 3x3 area around the impact. Her history is quite the opposite of Sapling's. Since her introduction, she's never been balanced or altered in any way. This includes her price as a money premium plant. While she acts as a stronger version of Banana Launcher, I strongly encourage you to not purchase this plant. A 3x3 chilling area is cool and all, but is it really worth $8? Compared to the other Feastivus plants, Mistletoe really feels like a lazy cash grab from the developers. Side note, yes, I've resorted to saying developers now because if I say PopCap or EA, I'll start World War III in the comment section. I mean, using Banana Launcher and Stallia, two completely free adventure mode plants, has the same effect as using Mistletoe. In case you couldn't tell, I'm not very fond of this plant, and I don't think it's worth the effort of your body converting chemical energy into kinetic energy for your finger so you can tap the purchase button on the screen. But as always, if you think otherwise, you're wrong. Holly Barrier, similar to Banana Launcher and Mistletoe, is another tap-to-fire projectile-based plant. However, the devs weren't so slack this time and made a plant that's somewhat unique and original. Holly Barrier costs 150 sun and launches missiles that do small damage and knock back zombies in a 3x3 area where they land. However, the missiles also land in the ground and act as a barrier leaf that behave the same as an Endurian with half the health. Holly Barrier can launch 3 of these projectiles before running out, but they can be restored by planting another Holly Barrier on top of the existing one. The Holly Barrier plant itself behaves as an Endurian, blocking zombies and dealing damage. So essentially, Holly Barrier acts as an Endurian that can spawn 3 other Endurians with half the health that additionally damage and knock back zombies on impact. As you can tell, this plant is quite good at blocking zombies. Its plant food ability allows it to recharge all leaves and simultaneously launch 4 barrier leaves with metal spikes that increase their damage output and health. Fun facts about the barrier leaves include that they have the height of a tall knot, so they can block flying zombies like jetpack zombies, and that they count as their own plant, so intensive carrot can be used to revive them, and they do count towards the have X amount of plants on a lawn gimmick. Holy Barrier was released in the feastivus event after Missile Toes, and much like its predecessor, hasn't been tweaked since launch. Holy Barrier is a premium plant that costs money, the last premium plant to be released for the annual feastivus event. I really love Holy Barrier's design, both functionally and aesthetically. Out of the 3 feastivus premiums, I'd say Holy Barrier is my favourite. Once you adjust to its tap to fire manual operation style, Holy Barrier can be quite a fun and effective plant to use. Obviously, it won't be your main attacker, but rather a defensive stalling plant. For its defensive capabilities, I believe Holy Barrier isn't a bad choice if you do want to spend your money on the game. That is, if you want to buy a plant. In general, I don't think it's worth spending any amount of money on Plants vs Zombies 2, but if you do want to spend some cash on a premium plant, Holy Barrier wouldn't be a bad pick. It's definitely not the most broken premium there is, but its uniqueness and rarity make it a fun one to have. Another topic I wanted to cover in this video is why I believe these 3 plants are so forgettable and obscure. I mean, if you think of one plant in the game, just the first one that comes to mind, I'd be surprised if it was one of these 3. On the surface level, it's pretty easy to see why these plants are forgettable compared to the rest of the cast. They only ever come around in December each year. However, there are a multitude of deeper reasons why these plants aren't at the forefront of our minds. As I said, the player can go a whole year without seeing these plants, unless they actually buy them during Christmas, or if you want to be fancy, Feastivus. This exclusivity in combination with the fact that 2 of these plants cost real world money make them rather hard to come by. Even if the player is willing to buy a premium plant, there are other premium plants that are stronger, including Cold Snapdragon and Grapeshot. This only furthers the scarcity of these plants among the player base. And I have data to prove it. I asked all of you to tell me which premium plants you guys owned. While not a very accurate or scientific collection of data, your comments allowed me to appreciate in general which money premium plants are more commonly owned than others. In total, I got about 50 responses across the platforms I asked you guys on. In total, about 4 of you said you owned Holy Barrier and 1, literally 1, of you said that you owned a Mistletoe. This means that out of my viewers who own money premium plants, only 1 in 50 own Mistletoe. That's 2%. Keep in mind, casual players of the game likely wouldn't be viewers of my channel, so this statistic, if conducted on all players of the game, not just my viewers, would be even smaller. Again, this is 2% of players who own money premium plants to begin with who watch my channel. So the amount of players who own Holy Barrier or Mistletoe at all, out of the whole player base, is likely in the very low fractions of a percent. Another reason I suspect these plants are so forgettable is the fact that they basically never appear in the game's adventure mode. It's extremely likely that the average player will never even see one of these plants to begin with, because, if my memory is correct, these plants don't appear in a single level across all 11 worlds in the game. One exception you can kinda make is that Sapling makes a couple of appearances in the expansion epic quest levels, like Ancient Egypt Day 35 and the Far Future expansion level with the sap spawn ambushes, but this is post-game content. Yet another reason these plants can be forgettable is that they aren't the most OP plants of all. Don't get me wrong, they're solid plants, but they aren't too common as arena picks. Plants like P-Vine are well known because of how unbelievably broken they are, whereas the Feastivus plants are left in the dust in terms of competitive usage. One broken strategy with Holy Barrier is its synergy with Blover, but in my experience I don't even see this being used all too often. Even if these plants were strong options, their difficulty to use would likely deter players from picking them anyway. Sapling is hard to use since it needs to be strategically synergized with other plants to be effective. Holy Barrier and Mistletoe are difficult to use obviously because they are manual activation plants. They require more effort than automatic plants like Pea Shooter. So in conclusion, a bunch of factors including the inaccessibility, scarcity, low usage, niche roles, and difficulty of use of these plants all contribute to their obscurity. As I explained earlier though, I think these plants are overall quite interesting and cool, but I think their obscurity only adds to the interest of these plants. They're kinda like hidden gems amongst the game's catalogue.